department here, and I'm going to talk about privacy in smart cities. And the way we'll do this talk is initially I'll spend some time talking in general about smart cities and the technologies involved and how they lead to privacy risks. And then I'll move on to some specific examples. In the interest of time, we'll only look at two examples. One, a little bit in a very high-level overview kind of thing, and then we'll dive deeper into the second example. Okay? So to get started, so if you look at a city, there's some city facts. Actually, as of today, about 55%, I think that's the current estimate, of the world's population lives in cities, right? But they tend to consume a disproportionately larger fraction of the energy consumption of the human race. They also lead to a much larger fraction of the, let's say, greenhouse gas emissions. But on the other hand, they also contribute to a large fraction of the GDP, right? And these are worldwide numbers. If you're interested in Singapore-specific numbers, it's very easy. It's not 100%, right? Because everybody lives in the city. So if you are in charge of running a city, right? So for example, maybe you're a town council or some kind of government, which is responsible for the city. There's a certain number of things you need to worry about, right? So this could be, for example, the infrastructure, right? Or maybe the utilities. For example, power supply, water supply to the homes. You want to make sure that there's no interruption, they're reliable, they're efficient, and so on. You might be interested in public infrastructure such as transportation. You could also look at things that affect the quality of life of your citizens. So for example, recreational facilities, or things that affect their well-being, or the economy of the city, the kind of support you have for your businesses and industries, safety and so on. So there are all these things that go in a city, and you have to be very about that. Now, each of these sectors, if I should call them, has a set of needs, right, requirements that you need to meet. And you have your solutions. Ideally, your solutions should meet the needs, the requirements, and provided they should exceed the requirements of the best case. Now, in the specific case of a smart city, what we have is we specifically use, let's say, information, computation, communication technologies in order to come up with more efficient solutions so that our solutions are as close to the needs as possible. And over the last decade or even longer, there have been a set of technologies that have come up which have made the vision of a smart city feasible, right? And for example, advances in hardware manufacture and fabrication. Now we can have computing devices which are much smaller, or sensing devices which are much smaller. They have much better computational capabilities than what we had maybe 10 years ago. They last longer on a battery. You can deploy them out in the open. You don't even need a battery to harvest energy. Communication technologies are much more ubiquitous and pervasive. No matter where you put a sensor, especially in the city, it can provide the network connectivity. And what this means is that your sensors or your devices, they can generate data, and you can have real-time transmission or collection of this data. And in fact, this transmission of data or transmission of information doesn't have to be one way. It doesn't have to be just from the devices to wherever you're storing this. It can be two ways, right? And what you can do is you can gather all this data in real time, process it, analyze it, and use it to get actionable things that you can do in order to optimize the system that you're running, right? And that sort of is the basic idea behind a smart city. You have large-scale data collection about whatever things you're interested in, and then you analyze this data, and then you process this data, and take action in real time to optimize your system, right? So given that this is the background, and then there are certain issues that come up, obviously. This is privacy things, and we'll talk about privacy. So let's take an example, right? So one example might be, let's say, my smartphone here, right? Whoever it is, right? It could be M1 Starhub Sikdar, protecting my privacy, right? I'm not telling you who my provider is. So they have a pretty good idea about where I am. They can do triangulation based on the base station measurement that this guy is going to send. Right? So they have a pretty good idea about my location, and they can trace me. As long as my phone is on, they can trace me where I go. This could be fairly useful, for example, if you're doing transportation planning. You could use this data And you could say, okay, we need, if you're doing like scheduling of buses, or planning of routes for the buses, that's going to be very useful. You could add more data to it. You could say, okay, in addition to your mobility traces, I want your demographic information. How old are you? If you know that this person is a, let's say, senior citizen, and if you know where they usually visit, and you collect this data for the whole population, then you can plan, social services or placement of things like fitness centers or whatever it is. Right? But then, of course, as you collect this data, you get into privacy risks. When we're analyzing and sharing this data, of course, we have to worry about the privacy of individuals. Other things might be in a city with multiple organizations, whether they're government, they're private organizations, they all have access to different sets of data. You might think that one particular set of data, if I scrub out certain things, it's private. But if I do a mashup with other data sets, you could leak private information. So as an example, maybe I'm a hospital, I have some patient data. I scrub out their names and social security or my PIN number here, or whatever it is, NRIC number, and then I release it. Maybe I just put the age of the patient and the symptoms and so on. Maybe you think that this is private enough. But if I have access to other information, maybe census information, I could put those two data sets together and divulge information. So there's a very famous textbook example where the private medical data records of the governor of Massachusetts, state of Massachusetts in the US, his medical records were used by somebody who paid $20 legally to get the census information, and then they could correlate that this person was in the hospital for these things, this particular period of time. And then there are other things that we need to worry about, and this could be, for example, at the intersection of legal issues and technological issues. So, for example, if you have data, what can they be used for? Right? Should there be any legal restrictions or constraints on what our data can be used for? Should our data be allowed to be used commercially? Right? Google collects information on me for many things. What can it do? So you think about Cambridge Analytica and Facebook. So that's brings us to questions about what are the commercial uses of data that might be allowed in the segment. And there could be other things. I may have given you consent to use my data, but can that be used to leak somebody else's private information? And I'll just show you an example in the next slides. So given that this is our general setting of privacy issues in the smart city, let's now take a look at two specific examples. So I'll start with the example of smart transportation systems, and then I'll go into an example of smart grids. So in the case of a smart transportation system, it's an amalgamation of a large number of individual components. One side, we have the vehicles themselves. So you can have a whole spectrum of vehicles. For example, in the near future, we'll have fully autonomous vehicles maybe, which can drive without any human intervention. But these collect a lot of information, not only from the vehicles, but from the surrounding environments. Or you could have a much simpler, maybe, connected vehicle which talks to other vehicles nearby. So for example, if you're braking suddenly, it will send warning signals to the vehicle behind you so they know that somebody's braking in front and they can take corrective action. In addition to that, you have maybe IoT devices or roadside sensors that sense things like how many vehicles are going, what's the average speed, what's the distance between or separation between vehicles. And all of this data is somehow collected somewhere and analyzed, and you may do things like automatic regulation of traffic lights and so on. So the common benefits would probably get a reduced congestion, more fuel efficiency, and so on. So what are the privacy issues that we crop? And instead of looking at all of these, let's just zoom in on one, and let's just say let's look at autonomous vehicles. This is something what Intel believes is the amount of data a vehicle will generate in a typical day. 4,000 gigabytes. That's the amount of data to generate. Maybe it will not transfer all of that over the network. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But a large fraction of that will probably remain on the vehicle, and some of it will be transferred. Right? And this data will be generated by things on board, many different sensors, cameras, lidars, and so on. So what could be the privacy? One thing is, of course, it's an autonomous vehicle. It knows where you started your journey, where you ended. So of course, there are concerns related to location tracking. It knows where you're going, how much time you spend there. Also, imagine how much commercial potential this has to people like, if people know where I go, which mall I go to, maybe they can give me targeted advertisements or things like that. So when the commercial value of this is something Mohan was talking about earlier, but when there's value in the data, you're probably more likely to be targeted. So some time back I was saying, okay, I have given you permission to use my data, right? But can I accidentally leak private information about others? So you have these cameras on these autonomous vehicles, and maybe they're looking at pedestrians and then some kind of image processing and learning technique to detect if there's a pedestrian and could be a crash, right? But can this picture be somehow released, and then you release the private information about the presence of somebody else in a given location at a given time, right? You're not supposed to be, so when you look at Google Maps, you scrub out the faces of something, of the people in the industry. So there are possibilities that your data leaks private information about others. And there are other legal issues probably which you need to figure out, which you need to keep in mind. So who can have access to this data? Right? So my car collects all this. So can the government come in tomorrow and say, give us access to this? I need to know where Biplab went and what he was doing. This is similar to the case where the US government wanted Apple to release the data on a couple of iPhones. Right? So if I create a backdoor which can be used by somebody to get the data, maybe the government or my trust, but then that also opens a backdoor for others to get access to the data. So there are other things that we need to write. Now let's go to my second example, which is a smart grid. And let's look at some privacy issues, and this one I'll go into a little bit more detail. I'll also talk about solutions here. Right? So if you think about a typical power grid, it consists of three parts. There are the generators, which produce the electricity. There's a transmission network, which carries the electricity from the generators to near where you live. Most of the time, generators are far away from where the population lives. You probably don't want to live next to a coal-fired power plant. Right? And then there's a distribution network, which gets the electricity from the transmission network to your homes. They are connected electrically, but if you think about information-wise, they're not really that connected. The generators operate fairly independently of the transmission and the distribution network. Right now, what happens? So let's say today is particularly warm or something, and a lot of air conditioners are going up, so the load has gone up. So the generators need to ramp up, right, their production. So what happens now? Now what happens is somebody at the transmission side or the distribution side realizes they're consuming a lot of power, so they pick up the phone, call the generator, say ramp up. So the smart grid, one of the things is it wants to eliminate that. It says, okay, no, we will have smart devices. We will know in real time how much energy is being consumed, and then this information can directly go to the generators, and they can decide what we need. This one has to be. So essentially, this is more of the integration of information and communication technologies with a traditional power grid. That's what the smart grid is. In addition, there are other things which are changing. So for example, this is a picture of somewhere in Singapore. And if you look at the rooftops, you see solar panels. And increasingly, we have this renewable energy resources integrated in our grid. This is nice in the sense that now we have cleaner sources of energy. But it's also fairly challenging technologically because these are very variable. When you came into this building, maybe it was sunny, but if I ask you to predict now, is it sunny or cloudy? It's a random coin toss. So the power they produce fluctuates, and then your grid has to adapt to that. Another thing you'll notice is these smart meters that are increasingly being deployed. Right now, Singapore Power sends somebody to your home, I think, once every 2 months to get a power reading and send them back. Some of the housing developments, I think the more new ones, have the smart meters. And what they're capable of is they can get your power consumption reading every hour, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds, whatever you want. They'll get the power consumption information in such detail and send it back. Why would I want to do this? A couple of reasons. One is right now the price you pay for power is constant. It's maybe 20 cents per kilowatt hour. Whether you turn on your light bulb in the middle of the day or at night, you'll still pay the same price. That's not very efficient from a grid's perspective. What the grid would want is what Grab or Uber do, dynamic pricing. If the demand is high, you should pay more. If the demand is low, you should pay less. And that's nice in the case of a grid because if I have a load, for example, my washing machine that can go on at night, there's no point in running that during the day when there's high demand. If I run it at night, maybe I pay less. So if I do that, then you need to keep track when I was consuming how much power. This helps. The other thing it helps is with supply and demand management. So this is a figure. This is the actual demand. So this is not Singapore. This is an island in Hawaii called Kauai. Very similar in composition, at least electrically to Singapore. So this is the blue line, which is the consumption. And I have different generators. I have some solar, I have some diesel powered generators and so on. Ideally, they should add up these two. This is the solar, as you can see, it really goes up. And when I have more solar, I don't want to fire up my diesel generators. But if I want to do this, I need to add these two, this gray line and the yellow line, and they need to match the blue line, right? If I need to know this, I need to know what is the demand in real time. So the smart meters will give me that information in real time. So that's it. So what's the problem? So smart meters seem to be doing great stuff. The problem is they can leak private information about the users. So the smart meter is sending out information, let's say every few minutes or so. I know what you're doing at home. So for example, I know when these are the times your refrigerator was kicking in and out. This is the time your water heater was on. This is the time you were probably cooking your breakfast and so on. And all these things come up. So I need to be able to do this. I want this. If I'm a power guy, I want to be able to do supply and demand management. I want to do dynamic pricing. But I don't want to leak private information. So I guess I jumped. So these are some of the press releases which have shown some of these security concerns. And when negative press comes up, it's very hard for you to justify deploying that in the eyes of the normal public. So we need to develop solutions that can provide us benefits of this kind of technology in a smart grid and protect privacy of the individual users. So what do I want? So I want two things. So let's look at my scenario, and I'll talk a little bit about the solution without getting into too much detail. So I have this. I have smart meters at home. Then I have the power distributor of the supply of the service provider, something like Singapore Power maybe, who provides this power to me. And then they want to be able to bill me based on my consumption on certain times of the day. I also want to be able to do supply and demand management. But if I'm Singapore Power or some DSO, distribution system operator, my expertise is just power. I know how to get power to your home. I don't want to deal with a million homes sending me data every 2 minutes. So I outsource it to a third party. So the solution we want to have is, I want to have a third party which will be able to do things like data aggregation and so on. It will be able to tell me what is the total consumption in let's say Clementi. But it won't be able to tell what's the consumption within my home. So you don't leak my privacy, right? Now, when you're developing a solution, you may want to also have things like authentication and so on, but in this particular topic, at least we don't. So in our solution, we have 3 phases. So in the first part, we have some initialization. Then we have something to do for the pricing and something to do for the demand response management. Now, the first phase is fairly simple. We just authenticate the meters with the service provider. And I'll come back to this figure in just a minute. But now let's talk about our part where I want to do dynamic pricing. I want to know how much you consumed in different periods of time. And the solution is very similar to what Xiaokui was talking about when it comes to differential pricing. The idea there was, in addition to your real measurements, you add some noise, right? And then you subtract out the noise. In his case, the noise was, when we subtracted it, is probabilistic. In our case, we have a very deterministic subtraction because at the end of the month, when you get a bill, you don't want the power company to say, I think I'm 90% certain you consume 5 kilowatt hours. Right? You will be very unhappy. You want an exact number. You consume exactly 4.73 kilowatt hours. That's the, so this is the idea. At the beginning of the month or 10 days or 7-day period when the service provider wants to send you the bill, it will generate a set of random numbers and encrypt them and send it to you, to the meter. This third party doesn't know this random number. And every time I want to send a meter measurement, this is what I do. This is the real meter measurement, and I add this random number to it. So the third party, when it gets this. It doesn't know this, so it doesn't know the real meter value. What the third party will do is it will connect all of these measurements that I'm sending over the period of the month, concatenate them together, and at the end of the month or whatever the billing period is, send it to the service provider. The service provider knows what these values were, random values that were used. It will just subtract them out and gets the actual consumption. And if I want to do supply and demand management, I want to know what's the total consumption of a certain neighborhood. So remember, for every user, we have these random numbers that are generated, and I give that to every user. If you look at a certain time interval, user 1, let's say, takes its measurement, adds the random number, sends it out. User 2 takes his or her measurement, adds the random number, sends it out, and so on. And what I will do is, to this aggregator, I will give the sum of this column. The aggregator can get the individual measurements from each one, add it, and then subtract the sum. So it will not know the individual values, but it will know the total sum of all the consumption. And then it can do supply and demand management. So finally, to conclude, privacy is quite important in the smart city context, and particularly because it's the key to building trust with the people. And in this center, we are interested in all kinds of privacy issues related to smart, the components that make up smart cities. And we look forward to working with you. Thank you.